by and large, I mean, Billy Idol records are pop records, even though there's some aggressive guitar on it. So how do you, design a guitar sound that's going to fit on radio?
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.
You listen to Rebel Yell, for example, and you listen to the guitar tones on there. They're not necessarily the balls to the wall, full stack Marshall sounds. I mean, they're very heavily processed, studio tones. I mean, when you're recording that stuff, was it, the half stack with a 57 on it, or was it like Rockman's? Like, what type of stuff were you using?
The only songs that Rockman was used on, Blue Highway is a Rockman. I always intended to re-record it, and in the end, our producer said, "It's great the way it is."
Hey, it was good enough for Mutt Lange.
Because it went down live with the band, and I said, "All right." And the clean tones were where the Rockman was really used, Flesh for Fantasy, things like that. But by and large, it was one Marshall that I had, an early '70s metal face, wasn't even a plexi. And an old Marshall cabinet. I still own that stuff.
Nice.
I was really fortunate that we got Dave Wittman to engineer my guitars, and Dave was a staff engineer at Electric Lady Studios where we recorded.
Right.
Dave did all the Kiss records.
Yeah.
Everything from Kiss to Mahavishnu, and he was a rock guy. And
so he knew what he was doing.
He absolutely did, and to this day, I have no idea what microphones or what he did, but it sounded good.
Well, that's it, right? And look, at the end of the day, you can record a really shitty engineer can make a really great guitar sound terrible.
Oh, yeah.
So you kind of got lucky, right?
I did, and I was searching for the right engineer, and I remember calling up management and saying, "Oh man, you got to get me an engineer who can give me big rock guitar sounds." And they managed Kiss as well, and they said, "Oh, I think Dave Wittman's the guy you're looking for." And
nice.
He sure as hell was, yeah. He did Atomic Playboys with me as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, talking about that, was it competitive in the sense, like, was there competition to try and have a unique sounding guitar tone to stick out of the pack? I mean, like, I feel like it would be competitive in this because everybody played so well at the time that it's like if you kind of had to stand out in some way. I mean, like, guitar tone had to be a bit of that.
It was, rather than being competitive against any other guitar players, it was a stylistic thing. We had to have a bit of the aggression of a punk rock thing, a little bit of the Led Zeppelin thing. On the experimental side, I was listening to guys like John McGeough from Susie and the Banshees.
Okay.
Andy Summers' clean stuff was certainly, use of effects.
We just had him on the show a couple of months ago. I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, that Andy was the guy in the 80s who was, by and large, I mean, Billy Idol records are pop records, even though there's some aggressive guitar on it. So how do you design a guitar sound that's going to fit on radio and fit with the production style that we were going for. So it was how to design a guitar sound for that music.
Yeah. I mean, did you have pressure from the A&R guy? The label saying, like, "Oh, your guitar's a little too crunchy here." Like,
we had no involvement from A&R.
Really?
Well, when you have a manager like Bill Aucoin who manages Kiss, he's a powerful guy, and he kept them at bay. I don't remember ever submitting songs. I mean, we policed ourselves pretty heavily. Our A&R guy was our producer, Keith Forsey. He would, and we really trusted it. We trusted each other's instincts, and we were all specialists. Keith came from the Donna Summers, Giorgio Moroder school of dance music. Billy was the classic rock, punk rock guy, and I was the early 70s influenced Guitar Hero guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the time, there was a lot of experimentation in the studio, too. I mean, like, from drum programming to the Linn drum to the Fairlights. It's like, was there a lot of that stuff happening in the
Keith
studio?
was a master at the Linn drum. And so the album, I would say, is 50-50 live drums versus Linn drum. Things like, as I mentioned, Flesh for Fantasy, Eyes Without a Face.
Which was pretty standard at the time.
Yeah, but Keith was really at the forefront of that. And and he made the Lindrum an instrument. The way he programmed, because he was originally a drummer.
Yeah.
And
I think it would help, right?
Yeah, and so his programming really was like, it felt good to play against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because you listen to a lot of those records in the 80s and, like, you know, you'll have the kick and snare program, but then you'll have live toms. I mean, like, Mutt Lange was doing a lot of that stuff with Def Leppard.
Yeah, it was whatever worked, you know.
Yeah.
And it was exciting because the stuff was all new technology then.
After the success of that, I mean, like, were you guys ever pressure from the label, say, like, oh, you need to work with a Mutt Lange or a Bruce Fairbairn or that type of thing with Billy? Or
No, they knew that our relationship with Keith Forsey was rock solid.
yeah, and it worked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why tinker with
Yeah.
a good team?
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.
Catch up on past interviews and episodes on demand now.
Subscribe so you don't miss any of it.